Milwaukee has a new M18 string trimmer out that is a dedicated string trimmer. It's model number 2828-20, and it's probably my favorite string trimmer that's battery operated made to date. Now that's not to say it's not without a few issues. I'm going to run you through this tool top to bottom, tell you everything that I found out about it, and I think with that information you'll be able to figure out if this is the perfect string trimmer for you. Stay tuned. When you purchase this string trimmer, it is collapsed down and in a box. So there is a connection in the center of this unit. That is not going to be something you're going to want to connect up every time you want to string trim, nor is it going to be something you're going to want to do once a month. You might do it every season. Unlikely. This is more of a put it together and leave it together connection. This is a 2-speed unit. Low speed is going to basically save your battery, 0 to 4,000 RPMs. High is going to be about 0 to 6,200 RPMs, although it feels like it has more RPMs than that by a long shot. This will take any M18 battery that Milwaukee makes, but I'm going to give you a suggestion, and don't go less than the 6.0 amp hour battery, in my opinion, because you'll start to lose performance from the motor. There is a brushless motor that's on the head end. It does have some venting to it, so every once in a while you're going to want to brush that off, but I don't see this as a problem. Some people say you don't want to get it in water or anything like that. Go to it, do your job. This thing was meant to be on a string trimmer, and it will take the abuse, I promise you that. The big thing here for most people is going to be how you load the line. This string trimmer comes from the factory with its line cutter set up for a 14-inch swath. If you want a 16-inch swath, you simply take out 2 bolts here, reverse this guy around, and you're all set. This head will hold up to 25 feet of line, and it will hold 0.080 or 0.095 line. Now you'll see I have this switched out as I went through and started doing my trimming. I found that the line with it would fray at the ends and was giving me a poor cut quality, especially to show on camera. So I went and grabbed some of my steel line and loaded this guy up. I was absolutely amazed at how much line this would actually hold, but this quick feed head is super easy to use by simply lining up the red lines, push your string through, and then you're just going to wind it into place. It's going to take you a little bit to wind it because it is so much string, but the bump feed on the head works awesome along with the quick load. This is probably one of Milwaukee's best heads that we've seen to date. While you're watching me do some trimming here, you might see me bent over or hunched over just slightly, but the new Milwaukee string trimmer is actually very long. The only reason that you're seeing me bent over slightly is because there's a little sticker here that says place handle here. And while I was assembling it, I placed the handle there thinking, well, we'll try it out. It is fully adjustable up and down. I brought out my steel KMA 130R, and this to me is the proper length. It feels good. I use this steel all the time, and it is set up similar. If you'll notice, the handle on the steel is actually up just a little bit due to how I set it up, but where I actually grip the unit is lower than the Milwaukee. So the Milwaukee has a further distance between the trigger and the forward handle than the steel, which is making me lean over slightly while I'm cutting. Easy for me just to move this up, loosen 2 bolts, move it up, and I have the proper stance. But this unit is going to be fully adjustable for someone who is not as tall as me and adjustable for someone who is. So I think that's huge in something we haven't seen from Milwaukee in the past. Even with this unit fitting me as a taller person, it's not the #1 reason why I really like this unit. What really draws me in is the trigger, flat out. I've used all kinds of different string trimmers from Ego, Steel, Greenworks, you name it, I've had them in my hands. And what I like about this trigger is it is the closest that I've ever seen to gas. And a lot of people say, you know, oh, we're at gas power. Forget that. Think about the trigger on a very nice gas unit. When you touch the trigger, things start happening right off the bat. This one's a little loud, but I can take and adjust this and run it just like I would a gas engine. Take a listen. I don't have the sponginess in the trigger. If I hit the trigger, it's going. Now there is a little bit of a windup for you to get to full power. It's not at full power in just a second, but there is that full feeling of when I move that trigger, that engine responds, or excuse me, this motor responds. This is how close to gas this is as far as the trigger, and that has not been the case with a lot of other units, because if you just blip the trigger on and off on many other brushless units, it takes a little bit for them to catch up. This unit is spot on. If I want power to be going, or if I'm just walking around, I find myself blipping the trigger just like I would on a gas unit, and it makes me happy. Might not be big to everyone here, but this trigger to me, and I'm a trigger guy, but this trigger to me is absolutely perfect. From the second that I pull that trigger slightly, stuff is happening and there is no delay. It's wonderful. I love that about this. 2 speeds to me with this good trigger, absolutely pointless. But if you want to save battery and not use your finger your finger to save battery, and you need to drop this on low, you can drop it on low and let it do its thing, and it's going to conserve battery life for you. Runtime for me with the 6 amp hour battery is going to be about 33 minutes. I got once 34, once 32, and that's me walking and doing all the trimming, and that includes some of the ditch banks, and includes me using 0.080 line and 0.095 line. So there's a pretty much same runtime between the two. Guys, for me, I go back to the handle, the way this unit works. Everything from there has been wonderful. I'm going to bring you in and show you this connection in the center. This connection in the center of the string trimmer is what will make or break a string trimmer, in my opinion. Milwaukee has gone far above other ones by adding bolts that cross through on the side on each side, so that you get the rigidity that you should as if you didn't even have anything here, but they also make it easy for you to put together. This is the tool that they send you with, and you're going to sit here and just go through and put all this together. It works. If you have Torx bits, this is just a T30. Get this guy out. You will enjoy putting this together much more. You don't need any other wrenches. Everything in here is in plastic and it will hold the nut. But you have a top screw that you're going to tighten and clamp this together, and then 2 screws, one on each side, that will simply hold this so that you have a very, very solid connection, which is what you need for a good string trimmer. The bottom of this handle has the same T30 bolts that go up through it. You can loosen them up and move that up and down and put it wherever you'd like. Milwaukee is going to put it in the right spot for someone who is approximately 5'10" to 5'11". As I said, I bought this unit in a kit, and it is balanced out pretty good for a string trimmer with the battery. And this is obviously going to change wherever you put the handle, but you can see it is just slightly weighted forward with the 6 amp hour battery. This will take any of the batteries, obviously. So if you pop a 12 amp hour on it, it's going to weight it the other way. So battery usage on this is going to somewhat determine how you feel it's balanced, obviously. But the reality of it is 6 amp hour or higher, I'll say it again, that's where your performance and your runtime is really going to come in and make this unit perform well. Now, another downside is the vibration. For a battery operated string trimmer, there are certain parts of the RPM scale that have more vibration than the other, and you can put it on low and you'll kind of seem to get around them, but it must be somewhere around 4,500 to 5,000 RPMs. This head at the end will actually vibrate. It'll send it up the string trimmer shaft, and you'll get it in your hands a little bit. personally, I don't notice it that much. I mean, it is noticeable slightly, but when you're coming from a gas unit, although I'm not, and that's why I think I picked this up, but if you're coming from a gas unit, you will not notice that vibration unless you notice that one point that you get a little bit or see it in the string trimmer head because you're just blipping the trigger and moving things around. That vibration is really only felt when the head is not engaged with some grass and it's cutting. It's more felt where you're walking around playing with the trigger. Not a big deal, but something that is in this unit. If you want something that is just butter smooth, this doesn't give you all that, but the reality is it's gonna take someone, you know, who's pretty in tune with their string trimmers to really pick up on that vibration, but just know there is some there. Power for even cutting ditch banks was absolutely amazing. And I did it with the string that came with it. And then I said, you know, that doesn't show its power as well as it should. And I kind of looked at the string and you could see that it was fraying on the ends. I thought that's when I went and made the upgrade. There is just a slight difference in power when you're swinging the .095 string, but I expected a little bit of that. Realistically, I still have all the power I need. It's just not there as quickly, but it's pretty close. I mean, we're talking milliseconds off, but it is just slightly noticeable. But the actual cutting of this unit worked great with the steel string on the end. I didn't get the fraying on the ends, so when it broke off. One thing to mention is if you have any of this string trimmer line sitting around, throw it in some water, at least 24 hours before you load it. This stuff does absorb water and it stops it from being brittle and breaking. And it might even stop it from fraying a little bit also. And that is going to be huge. So that could have been part of this. That line could have been dry. I don't really know. Either way, this line that was a little wet in the .090 or .095 line really rocked it out. If you're looking for a string trimmer, guys, I would highly recommend this one. It's got the right batteries, and I'll tell you right off the bat, I like it better than the 58 volt models that are out there. I like it better than the 56. I like it better than a lot of the larger models that are out there because of the trigger. I don't need much more power than this, although I think this has the same amount of power as many of the larger units out there. I know a lot of people said Milwaukee can't do it on 18 volts. I'm amazed every time I pick up something like this that doesn't have the large M18 12 amp hour battery on it, and it simply performs and has the runtime. I'd tell you any other way, if I didn't think it was there, I'll put my reputation on it that this is. So if you're looking for something like this, I think I've informed you on the length that this is, and if you need to adjust it so that it'll fit you, because that could be something big for some people. You know, a lot of you guys that are taller like me are like, hey, I need something that's gonna fit differently. Adjust this handle, it'll fit perfectly, even better than a steel will in most cases. The vibration, no big deal. Personally, I don't see it, especially if you're coming from a gas model. You'll never even notice it. The weight on this is 11.5 pounds. Not a big deal at all, but if you're very, very, very sensitive to weight, think about that. The way that I've held this, and I hold a lot of my string trimmers that way, is I can hold it and I put this back section against my arm, and that works very well. And this trimmer just fits me perfectly the way it all sits. So in that case, I love it. The way they have their speed control, if you're using the speed control, it's right there for you. Everything else is set up great here. Let me know what you think. If you absolutely hate it and you bought it, I would really love to know why. So leave that in the comments below. I'll try to put some links to this as to where you can pick this guy up. As always, I appreciate your time, guys. Comments, likes if you would, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.